Welcome back to the online videos of the practical sessions. So now in today's session what we will be discussing about the facing operation which is carried out on the lathe. So what will be the aim of this particular experiment, or you can say the thing what we are going to do, that is to perform the facing operation on the lathe machine. Now, what is this facing operation? We will study this particular thing in the detail, but before going that, let us see which are the apparatus which we are requiring for the particular operation. The first one, that is nothing but the lathe machine, because without the lathe you cannot perform the facing operation. So facing operation is carried out on the lathe, as you can see over here, the lathe machine on which we are going to perform our experiment. The second one, that is the tool. Which tool we require? That is the once again the single point cutting tool we require. Single point cutting tool shown over here. This will be a cutting edge on which this edge is responsible for the removing of any of the material from our workpiece. Now, which will be the material? Any material, most preferably a cylindrical material is always taken, as because we want to perform the experiment, and where we are placing our workpiece, majorly we are placing the workpiece on the jaws. So cylindrical workpiece is more taken as compared to any other different shape. So it is more preferable as compared to the different types of the shapes. So workpiece majorly it is of the material, that is of the mild steel or any of the steel metal you can take, but it should be of the cylindrical, then a perfect facing operation can be done. Now let us go further. Before going that, what is the theory of that lathe machine, how this lathe machine works, and what is the major principle behind this working of this facing operation. Firstly, the lathe holds the workpiece very firmly between the jaws of it. So at the headstock, you might be knowing that in the headstock there are chuck which we are placing, and in that chuck we are going to place our workpiece, and then it is allowed to rotate at a very high speed. Cutting tool, once again the cutting tool is placed in the tool post. Where we are using this tool post, we are placing it particularly into the carriage of the lathe. Now how this tool is made? Tool is made to move in any of the directions, parallel, perpendicular, translational, any at an angle, with the help of which the cutting action is going to take place. So tool, we are moving the tool, or we are giving the feed motion towards our tool, and our workpiece is rotated at a particular same place. That means it axis at the particular one place only it is going to move. So the main function of the lathe is to remove the metals from the workpiece in the form of the chip. In the small chips or the large size of the chip, the material is removed from the workpiece. And as a result of which, what will happen? Any operations, that means we can modify our shape of a particular workpiece. So here it is, the tool will be able to remove. You can see, you can move in this direction also, you can move in this direction also. That means at an angle also you can move. In any of the direction we can take this particular thing, and as a result of which, what will happen? The cutting action will take place. Now, what is the theory behind this facing operation? First of all, facing of the lathe uses a single point tool, and where we are going perpendicular. There is a difference in the turning operation and the facing. In a turning, we are going parallel towards the axis, but in this facing, we are going perpendicular of the workpiece. So your workpiece is rotated, and in that rotational axis, what we are going to do? We are going to get inside the thing that is perpendicularly. A facing tool, whatever the single point cutting tool that we are using, that is always inserted at the carriage, or it is held in the carriage of the lathe machine. And the tool, what we are giving the feed? We are giving the feed perpendicular across the part. So what will happen? So you can see in this thing that this chuck will allow this workpiece to rotate on its axis, and this facing tool is kept perpendicular and it is moved in this direction. And as a result, what will happen? You can go for the facing operation. Now, what is the importance of this thing? Why we are using this thing? To reduce the length of the workpiece, because what will happen? Anything, this is your workpiece, and if this is your tool, your tool will remove it in this direction. Your tool will remove the material perpendicularly. So as a result, the length of the workpiece is getting reduced. Single point cutting tool is the tool which we are using for the facing operation. Primary motion, which is responsible for the cutting action, that is rotary motion of the workpiece, and the feed motion which we are giving towards the tool, that is the perpendicular feed of the tool is given. So here you can see this is the length, this portion is removed, and this is the uncut portion, and your lathe will move in this direction. Your tool, this is your single point cutting tool, it will move in this direction. Okay, so now let us see towards the how this practical is going to performed practically live on the particular lathe machine. Okay, so now we will be seeing the procedure of the how to do the facing operation on the lathe machine. So for that particular thing, let us see the things which are required for us. So the first thing which we require, we have placed our workpiece over here. The workpiece is placed between the 4 jaw chuck. Here is the 4 jaw chuck which is there on the headstock. At that particular point, we have inserted our workpiece on which we want to do the facing operation. For that, we also require a tool. The tool which is required for the facing operation, that is a single point cutting tool, that is placed over here. This is your single point cutting tool whose thing, that is the cutting action, is given over here, and it is inserted between the carriage. It is inserted in the carriage over here. So in this tailstock, we are not requiring a tailstock for this particular operation. So for this operation, the two major things are required, which is that one is on the workpiece inserted in the headstock, second that is the tool which is inserted in the carriage. Now how we will be doing this particular operation? The facing operation is we will be going perpendicular towards the material. This thing, the headstock will be rotated at a very high speed, and this your tool is inserted perpendicular inside the material. Suppose this is your workpiece and your tool will be given in this particular motion. So that is the reason the surface will be removed as we will proceed further, and our facing operation will be performed on this thing. So now let us see the practical how this is going to occur.
तो आने देगा।
So you can see that it is perpendicularly coming inside of the material, and as a result the chip are removed from the material. So now you can see over here the facing operation which is going on the particular lathe machine. You can see the gray portion is going on out, and as a result it is going to be in the form of the chip, and we have removed that portion of the workpiece. So what will be the result of it? After doing the facing operation, we have reduced the length of the workpiece. With the help of this, what we have done, we have reduced the length of the workpiece. So for reducing the length, we always require the operation which is known as an facing operation.